for me as a pastor, to be able to have a counselor nearby that I can refer a person to is tremendously helpful, right? So to try to get into the life of a pastor just for a minute, what does a typical week even look like? I don't know if I could even give you a typical week, but it is not uncommon for pastors to be thrown into some very difficult life circumstances in people's lives, whether that be a sudden death, whether that be a diagnosis, but I also have another person who's going through a marital crisis or going through some mental health struggles, and I need to follow up with them. I've got my own family life to deal with, right? And the reality is, sometimes people need to talk more than once. Sometimes they need to talk several times. And two things. One, just the physical demands on my time in the week makes it really difficult to give that person the attention they need. And number two, I'm not an expert in everything. And there are times when I'm thinking, I need some help. I need someone who can come alongside and assist this person, and LFS is there to do that. So for me professionally, to be able to refer to LFS is super helpful, just because I can ensure that the care is happening. So Lutheran Family Service has vetted the counselors. They've done that hard work, and they're making sure that Christ is at the center, because our connection to Christ and the identity that we have in Christ and the confidence we have in Christ, being able to speak that identity and that truth and that gospel into our life is huge for so many things, and not to overlook mental health at the key piece of this, being able to speak truth into our life. So having that team member who's done the vetting, who has made sure that Christ is in the center, that's priceless to me. But for me personally, where do I go? Where does my family go when we need somebody to talk to? We have gone, for the sake of one of our children, many times to an LFS counselor, and we love her dearly, as does my son, who has gone along with us for those conversations. Some of those are hard because we're dealing with some hard things, but to have that support is so incredibly helpful. So for the person who says, is this something I really should think about supporting? I would say yes. I would say, your pastor needs support professionally, to have someone come alongside him to help him, to provide the care and the counseling that the person he's trying to care for needs. And he himself needs the help in his family, in his marriage, or whatever. There are stresses that come with that. But having the support of the LFS counselor has been huge, because we go together. We're able to bring that conversation back home and say, remember what we talked about? Or remember what the counselor said? Let's try to apply that. So we're all in this together. And that's been tremendous for us as a family. So when I think about LFS, and if I had someone come to me and say, hey, Pastor, you've talked about LFS lots of times. Why should I, or we as a congregation, support LFS? And I guess I would say to them, it's a part of neighbor care. It's a part of not only caring for your pastor, like I've talked before about the support they provide for church workers, which is so valuable to have someone who will care for the church worker. But it's a part of the way the church can provide care for our neighbors. It has been such a blessing for me to have an LFS counselor come on site a couple times a month here at our location. And I refer all the time to her, and my members are so appreciative for that. I mean, I can speak to the real world benefit and blessing of real people whose stories I know. They've gone and they had the opportunity just to say out loud the stuff that they're struggling with, right? Part of the benefit of counseling is just being able to say out loud the stuff that's been circulating in your mind for so long, and being able to bring it out into the light and bring God's truth to bear on it. Real people need real help, and they need it from real people who have the same Christ-centered perspective that they have. It strengthens us all. It strengthens the outreach of the church, the compassion of the church, and it adds a team member to our efforts.